Have you ever thought when you go out taking photos wherever you are, at the beach, at the park, in the mountain, of just looking for some subjects, looking for some objects where you could say, okay, well, I'm just going to isolate them and make them the focal point. In this video, I'm going to show you how when I was on holidays up in Cape Tribulation in North Queensland, we were walking along the beach early one morning with my daughter. We could see where the crabs had dug their little holes and they had made these nice little structures around their hole. I want to show you that sometimes we forget to look down. Now, I've already done a video of being at the beach and instead of looking around, of looking down and photographing sand waves. You might think like, what sand waves? Well, take a look at this video here and you will see what I'm talking about. How I turned just normal ripples on the beach into something totally different and made it the focal point of my photo and turned out some really great photos. Well, today it's very similar, but we're not photographing sand waves. There was no sand waves up in Cape Tribulation, but heaps of these little crab mounds and all that. I want to show you what worked and what didn't work, because it's not as easy as what it might sound. Now, on this morning, there had been a few birds around and my daughter had said, like, Dad, can you put on your zoom lens so that if there's some birds around, I can try to photograph some birds. So on this morning, I was using my Nikon D500 with the Nikon 70-300mm AFP lens. This lens gives you great photos, and I've done a review on it. You can look it up here now. So we were just walking along the beach like this with this lens, and the photos I'm going to show you, most of them were taken straight down like this. Some of them my daughter took, some of them I took, and we just used the zoom ring just to get as close as possible to our subject. All the photos were taken in aperture priority, and because there was quite a lot of daylight around, my ISO was fixed at ISO 100 and my white balance was set to sunny. It's a clear sky. Now I shoot JPEG and RAW even when I'm holidays, because I thought that maybe I could use some of these photos for my YouTube video, but the photos that you're going to see here have already been edited because I just want to show you the finished product. Let's take a look at some of these photos and I'll walk you through what my ideas were and what my daughter's ideas were when we were trying to take these photos, because some of these she was saying like, oh Dad, how about we take it this way, or how about we take it that way, and we were trying various combinations to see what we could end up with. So this is the first one we took. You can see it's quite plain, but look at it. The little crab hole here is right in the middle here, but then all these little balls of sand are all spread out. A nice even pattern. And we looked at it with my daughter and we were like, hey, this is a good starting point. Look at it. It's nicely spread, but let's try to find something else. Let's try to look for something better. So we kept walking along the beach and we came along to this one here. Very unique. Instead of the crab just spreading it out, the balls of sand all around, he just made a small mound and then he was just walking along and dropping the balls. And look at it, it's just so funny because you can see where the crab was just walking along and he was just dropping these sand balls just further and further out. It looked like he was saying, okay, well, I've made myself like a little castle, but I need a way to go in and out. And you can see the sand just below the sand balls here is very worn. That's where it was walking along. We looked at that, said, okay, well, that's really good. I took another photo, and this one here, I cropped it into 1:1. Now, I've talked about cropping our images. You don't have to keep your images as a 6:4. This one here is actually cropped at 9:16 because I didn't want too much extra sand around. This one here, look, I've just cropped it and I've adjusted my white balance. I adjusted the warmth because I didn't want it too grayish. But look at that, it looks so nice, and you can see where the crab was just coming in and out. Then we kept walking along a little bit more. This is a sandworm, and he had just pumped this out. Our idea behind this is we wanted to look down the beach, and she didn't get down low enough. We could still see quite a lot of the background and all that. The idea behind this photo was we just wanted just to see the sandworm and nothing in the background, so it was just going to blur the background out, but it didn't quite work out. We said like, yeah, okay, that's all right, you've tried, let's try something else. Instead of shooting this way, because it's like a wormhole and you can see all the sand going curling around, how about we just shoot straight down? She said, bright idea, let's do that. That's what we did, and look at it. Can you see the impact it has? This looks quite nice, but we can see the curl, but not as much as this photo here. And now you can see what I'm talking about with a sandworm that, look, it's just coming out of the sand and curling around. looks really nice. I was shooting at f5.6 because I wanted a little bit of depth. I didn't want too much of a shallow depth of field because I want to see everything in focus. And that's why I shot in aperture priority at f5.6, and then I let the camera adjust the shutter speed. We walked a little bit further. Again, we saw a crab hole with all these little sand holes, and I said, okay, now we're going to try this again. And this time I'm going to get down very low, flip the LCD screen on the back of the camera out like that, rested the camera on my foot and shot straight across. And you can see, even at f5.6, my background is blurred. Why? Because I was so close to this crab hole that I was able to blur the background out. Now, the further you're away from something, the more you're going to see the backgrounds. Get up close, fill the frame, you're going to end up with a photo like this. Even with a kit lens, you don't need a lens that can go down to f2.8 to take photos like this. A kit lens will do this. You just have to remember, the closer you are in, the more blur you can get in your background. So we kept walking along the beach, and then all of a sudden some clouds came along. And look at this photo here. It looks like a stingray. It was just so nice. Now, I hadn't noticed this. My daughter was just walking along the beach a little bit further, collecting some seashells, and she called over, she goes, "Hey Dad, look at this." By the time I walked over, the cloud had started coming over. You can see it's two-tone. Now, I didn't do that in editing. That's just how it looked. I quickly took a photo and it was like, wow. 2 minutes later, the cloud went away and it was just bright sun. Didn't have the impact, but this, it was so nice because it just breaks it up. And I like how we frame this image. We got the crab hole quite high up and then it just comes down. Now, something that you have to remember when you're photographing stuff like this is we normally say we use the rules of thirds. If your subject is symmetrical, meaning it looks the same on the left and on the right, or on the top or on the bottom, then put it in the center. It will look great in the center of your image. And by this time, like we'd gone out before breakfast and my wife was saying, hey, let's go back and have some breakfast. Then we can go out, do some day tripping for the day around Cape Tribulation. As we're walking back to the path to take us back to the car, the sun's beating down on us now already at 8 o'clock in the morning. We notice this piece of seaweed there. And look at it. You might say, like, just plain seaweed. But look what I've done to this image here. I've turned it into something very abstract. I've done quite a bit of editing here. How long did this take us? About 10-15 minutes. It was just a very quick trip to the beach. We just want to see what the beach was like in the morning before we went out doing our own thing for the day. I hope this gives you some ideas when you're out with your family, because this is holiday photography. Nothing was complicated. Like I said, I just put it into aperture priority, set my white balance to sunny, and let it go, because I handed my camera to my daughter while we were walking around a bit for her to have some fun. So I wanted to keep it very simple. And sometimes this is what we forget. We try to overcomplicate our photos. Some people say, well, you should have put it in a manual mode and done this and done that. Why? Why make more work for myself? I could have put it in shutter priority and done about the same thing. But I wasn't interested in the shutter speed. I was interested in my depth of field. So I set it to f5.6 and said, let it rip. Even if we went to 300, okay, it would jump up to 6.3. As soon as we brought it back down, it would just come back to f5.6, and we got some great photos. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give me a big thumbs up. Stay safe, enjoy photography, even when you're on holidays, and I'll see you next time.